Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today's guest is Davina Stanley, and she is the founder over at Clarity First Program. Davina, welcome to the show.
Hi, Adam. Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, great to have you on the show, and let's have some fun. Let's dive right in. So first off, before we get into, Clarity First Program, which I see the name founder here, whenever I see the name founder, I'm always curious. So how'd you get into entrepreneurship? Like, where did that begin for you?
Well, it began a long time ago. I first was freelancing when I was in my early 20s, where I wanted to study full-time and work part-time. And the deal was with my husband that so long as I earned enough to pay the mortgage, all was well. So, yeah, exactly. It's like one of these early marital deals, right?
I like it.
He wanted to move to Hong Kong, and that was great. I said, sure, but I've got to finish my study first. We did it that way. And so I started in a very easy place where I was freelancing for my previous employer. And since then, I've just had a number of circumstances, but particularly once I had children, where it just made sense for this to be the obvious way for me to work. And it's allowed me to move from country to country and serve clients. And typically, I've been able to start out on a period of entrepreneurship, if you like, by freelancing back to my previous employer. So I've been on my own now for a very long time, like 20-something years. And so I started this time by freelancing back to McKinsey, the management consulting firm that were my sort of last substantial employer. And I just built practices on the back of that, And,
yeah. What do you think has kept you in the game and has made you successful? What do you think is a lot of people kind of go down that route, but what's made you successful in this? It's not easy.
No, I suppose it's not, but nothing is. And I think for me, I really enjoy the work I do. I love helping people clarify and convey complex ideas. I use the method I learned at McKinsey. So first of all, I really enjoy what I do. I love helping people. I started as a kindergarten teacher originally, which is why I needed to go back to study, right? So I bring together all of those things. So that sense of satisfaction of helping people do a hard thing is just really satisfying. I also like the freedom of finding something that works and getting better and better and better at it. So I think that's helped me stay in the game too, because I just enjoy getting better at helping people in this particular way. I guess too, it would seem I'm able to sell. And in the past, I've had teams of up to 10 people working with me. And one of the reasons I found people joined with me was that perhaps I could help sell them as well. So I think there's something in that. I love the enthusiasm of finding a new client and, finding how can I help them and design something that really suits their needs. So I think there's satisfaction that in general in doing the thing. There's enjoyment that comes from helping people get better at something. There's maybe just some pleasure that comes with I seem to have been able to sell enough. There's flexibility in being a mom, living in many countries and so on. And my boys are adult now. They've grown. So it has enabled me to build something that I can keep on doing. And having been doing it for so long now, I don't know if anyone would hire me, like as an employee.
Unemployable is what we call that, Davin.
Well, I know. And I think, I don't know if I ever got to a spot where I didn't have enough work to do. I think, crikey, what would I do? So, look, I really enjoy it. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, for me, the work. Yeah, go on.
No. So one of the things that I see as I kind of review things is you're helping clients kind of find these breakthrough ideas, whether you're working through with senior leadership or otherwise, like,
Mm-hmm.
and to kind of get through all the fluff to push, to move the needle, so to speak. Like, tell me a little bit about your process, like, and how you're able to accomplish that. I mean, how do you do that?
Great question. So I've got 5 steps that I take people through. And these are the anchor for my 2 new books. I wrote 2 in parallel, which I know is crazy, but I'll explain why in a minute. And so the 5 steps are these. So they all start with F. So firstly, flush out your strategy. So I work with them to say, okay, what's the purpose for this communication? What outcome do you need from it? Doesn't matter if it's an email or if it's a formal presentation to the board or anything in between. It doesn't matter. But what do you need to achieve with this communication? I've got a framework for helping people do that. And then the next step is to frame the messaging. And that's about getting an outline, a high level skeleton, if you like, of what the story might look like. And I use patterns for that. I've got 10 patterns, which I think cover the gamut of almost all business communication. So once we have that strategy sorted out, we say, okay, what's the outcome? And then we use that to pick a pattern. And once that's clear, we fill it in. And we map out that one page so that we can firm up the messaging as a single letter-sized or A4 page. And we do that so that page has got some really key elements to it. A super short introduction that introduces what we're talking about and why. One single overarching message, and then a structured set of supporting points. There might be 2 to 5 supporting points, but ultimately we're ordering the ideas into a hierarchy so they all back up that one main message. So you might imagine getting just to a wall or a whiteboard, getting a whole lot of sticky notes out, putting each idea on a sticky note and mapping them out into a tree. And there's some rules around what idea you put where. You get that messaging really, really tight on that one pager, and then you test it, you iterate it, and you iterate that with your stakeholders. And because it's on a page and the font is somewhat bigger than 2 point, right? We're not just jamming everything in there. We're keeping the font at a sensible size. It's really quick and easy for your stakeholders to open up that one page and say, okay, do I agree with this? Do I not? Do I like it? And they can respond really fast, which is a big problem for people because often they'll send things for review and people come back at the very last minute because it's just too hard to find the messaging. They haven't got time. So we set them up to provide a really clear and crisp message that a stakeholder can review and respond to really fast. And so once that they've got the response, maybe they go back a couple of times to fine tune it. Maybe they say the stakeholders come back and say, oh, there's just a few little things I'd change here. And so then once that's locked in, then you flip it into a document format, whatever that is, whether that's, a lengthy email or it's in maybe a template in a Word document or a PowerPoint or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. The structure, the messaging is locked down. And so it's really easy to create the document. And then, you present it and that's all great. And then at the end, you do something that's really important that's very rarely done. And that is feedback and feed forward, because you want to take out of that journey between you and your stakeholders, just briefly, say what worked really well there, what didn't, what was it about our process that meant we were all scrambling up till 3 a.m, finishing that presentation, or, oh, wow, we got that done in a heartbeat, or, today I just finished a coaching session this morning and a CEO for a healthcare startup said to me, okay, well, what I was really thrilled about last week was I tried what we did myself, and instead of having 15 pages for the pitch for the client, we had 2. So we had a really quick discussion at the beginning where I could present our ideas, and then we had this awesome discussion. So we didn't spend the whole time with me talking them through 15 pages of stuff. We got to the point really quickly and actually had a great discussion. So I really feel like we moved the needle on that sales discussion today, because we actually got to what we needed to get to. So, So the 5 steps, if I just recap on them: flush out the strategy, which is the most important thing of all. Frame the message as a skeleton using a pattern so it's quick. Firm up that messaging so that you can focus your energy on the stuff that really matters. What is the messaging? What do we really need to say here? And then flip it into a document format, whatever that is. And then after you've presented it, feedback and feed forward.
What are the type of clients that you find get the most value out of working through this process? And I mean, it could be size of company, it could be like how big does a leadership team need to be, or for small business, enterprise only. Like, give me a flavor for that.
So I work with a whole range. So the one I just mentioned, they've got about 35 people in their team. But then I also work for global brands and work with, the Australian region, let's say, would be a recent one of a global retailer. And they had, they've got several thousand people in their business. And so I worked there with the senior few hundred, if you like. So I think, and I've worked with much bigger organizations than that too, right? Hundreds of thousands of people. So I don't think it's industry. I don't think it's size of company. What I think it is appetite. And I think if you have the people who get the most out of it, where the leadership is really aligned and really wants this, they're committed to making a difference in the way they communicate because they really appreciate the business value around the quality of the decision-making, the velocity of the decision-making, those kinds of things. And they'll actually make decisions. So to me, if I look at the different clients that I have a global client network. I have a mix of client size. I work across many different industries. So to me, it's really about, are the leaders going to get their sleeves rolled up here and get involved? And, are they really going to really require people to invest and do this well enough? I don't want to say properly. I just mean, really try.
Yeah, I get it.
And hold them to account, because I mentioned that I just wrote 2 books, which is I'm sure, a sign of madness. But I did it because...
1 is hard enough. 2 is that is a little bit of a sign. Go ahead.
Isn't it? Isn't it crazy? And I started writing 1 for leaders to document the method that I've been using with senior leaders to say, here's how you set your teams up for success. Here's the basic methodology. Here's how you can help them yourself, right? So that once I leave, I'm here for a short time and a good time, not forever. So here's how, once I've set them up, or if you choose to go it alone, you set them up. And then, you need another tool, which is Feel People. And I started writing 1 to be a companion for another book I wrote 7 or 8 years ago. And I realized that my thinking had moved on a long way since I'd written that first book.
Interesting.
So I thought, actually, I've got to suck this up and write another one, because I need one that is, matches neatly with the leader's book. So there's a leader's handbook, and then let's call it a contributor's handbook, where you have something for the leader to drive the change in their team, and then something for the members of the team so that they can know how to structure a message. And I go a lot deeper for them on things like how to clarify the strategy. Here are a whole lot of case studies and examples around the 10 patterns to help them come to life. I go deeper on things like, well, what does a leadership group need from you? What does a board need from you? What sort of things do just leaders need from you, so that, they can really execute on it.
This is great, Devin. I can see it, and I can see that, and you've been doing this for a long time. So I always think it's interesting bringing in individuals like yourself that are consultants or coaches, or that really can help move the needle, because you've worked with so many clients in so many different industries. I feel like there's also just this overlapping of knowledge that you have from working with so many people. Like, am I off on that? Like you get to explore and solve problems all day long. It's super interesting.
That's also coming back to your question, why I keep doing what I do. Because, I love helping people, but it's just really interesting. And, the sorts of problems that clients are solving now with the advent of AI and, really cool technologies, and the way I teach now so often online, it requires me to be dynamic. But it's just interesting. And what I think is fun, I mentioned that I have 10 patterns for telling business stories. And, the first time I realized I was doing this, using patterns, was when I was working with a finance team and they needed to persuade their leader to upgrade some software. They needed some new compliance software, I think it was. And they had a bit of a delicate thing to handle because their leader, who would be signing off on the budget to get the new tool, had actually designed and actually written the code for the thing that they thought was way out of date and no longer very useful. Mm-hmm. And so you say, okay, well, that's a really common problem in general, to get money and support to invest. And so I just said to them, okay, I've heard you talk for about 10 minutes. Here are 3 options for the way you could tell that story at a high level. Here you go, 1, 2, 3. And because I've done it for so long, using the same core structured communication toolkit, I can just see the patterns. So I think what I've been able to do is draw the threads out of those to hopefully make it easier for people across a wide range of situations to take full advantage of that. Because, I've been doing the one thing, as you say, for, 25 years or more. And, I see so many different stories, but there are common threads to it. So it's kind of fun. Just okay, here's a new one. This seems really hard. How do I untangle that?
Yeah. Amazing. Well, Davina, this has been so much fun having you on the show today and learning more about Clarity First program. I know there's much more to offer, and I know you can go much deeper into the methodology and logic behind it. That being said, if my audience is listening or tuning in and they want to follow up and they want to learn more, how do they do that?
Oh, brilliant. Come to my website, clarityfirstprogram.com, and add a /emails onto the end of that. And what I've got there is a 10 Minutes to Better Emails course. It'll give you a quick snapshot of the way I think and work and help you apply the ideas straight within 10 minutes to the thing that you probably do most. So clarityfirstprogram.com/emails will give you a really great start.
Fantastic. And just so you know, the audience, everybody listening in, we'll put the links to that in the show notes so that you can just click on the link and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way on your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow. And Davina, again, thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Adam.